with coverage you can count on. This is the Erie News NOWCAST.
Good evening, I'm Kristen Allen, and thanks for joining us for tonight's edition of the Erie News NOWCAST. The CDC and other health organizations are still pushing for everyone who is eligible to get vaccinated against COVID-19. But what happens if you get the vaccine and still end up with the virus? That's what happened to one local woman we're speaking with tonight. Maria Fernandez is a student at Gannon University from Honduras. Several members of her family got the virus back home and one even died from it. So that's one reason she decided to get vaccinated. Thinking she was fully protected against the virus, she went on with life as normal. But just 5 months later, she tested positive for COVID-19. She tells us she was shocked and scared for what would come next.
At first, I didn't think it was COVID or the virus, but I had to get tested with Gannon, and then like 1 or 2 days later, they were like, yeah, you were tested positive.
More of her story and her message tonight on Erie News Now at 11. And it was another day where more than 150 coronavirus cases were reported in Erie County. Cases have been steadily rising in both Crawford and Warren counties and Erie over the last week. That's also been the case across the state, which is now routinely seeing more than 5,000 cases per day. Hospitalizations have been up too. According to state data, there are still no beds available in Warren County. Statewide, there are only about 14% of ICU beds available. We have the latest COVID-19 facts and figures on our website at erienewsnow.com. And Pfizer is asking the U.S. government to allow use of its COVID-19 vaccine in children ages 5 to 11. If regulators agree, shots could begin within a matter of weeks. Pfizer already announced that a low dose of its vaccine worked and appeared safe in a study of children. Pfizer and its German partner BioNTech officially filed its application today with the FDA. Now, the FDA's advisors are scheduled to debate evidence later on this month. Until now, the vaccine was available only for people as young as 12, and many parents and pediatricians are clamoring for protection for younger kids. Changing gears now, we continue to follow the latest efforts by the city of Erie to fight blight. The Erie Redevelopment Authority wants to spend $15 million to repair and remove blighted homes over the next 3 years. Our Jameson Hicksonbaugh reports.
When I moved in this neighborhood, there was houses everywhere.
Over the past 8 years, Tracy Crane has watched her neighborhood off of East 5th and Wallace fall into disarray.
The morale has just gone way down. And it's too bad because this is a historic neighborhood. This is the first Polish neighborhood.
Across the street lies this blighted home, serving as a constant eyesore.
I just would like to see this neighborhood come back to life. It seems like we're a forgotten neighborhood.
Crane's hope could soon be answered. The city of Erie has proposed using $15 million in American Rescue Plan funding to revitalize hundreds of homes and to demolish unlivable properties.
It's been desperately needed for decades, and now we have an opportunity to inject some much-needed cash.
If approved by City Council, landlords and homeowners could apply for loans and grants to help fix their rundown properties.
We know what happens with blighted properties. They become havens for illegal activity, crime. It depresses the neighborhood, and it reduces the confidence in that neighborhood.
A reality Crane is now experiencing.
We worked hard, the women in this neighborhood, to clean this neighborhood up. And then you see these blighted things, and you see all this weird stuff going on, and the morale has just gone way down.
After years of neglect, Crane hopes the funding will help revitalize the city's Lower East Side.
Stop being forgotten. Yes, we're on Lower East Side, Erie, but don't forget us. We're humans too.
That proposal must be approved by Erie City Council, and if approved, the city money must be spent by December of 2024. With continuing coverage now, we're hearing from investigators in the murder case of Alexis Sharkey. She's the Warren County native who was an Instagram influencer and was found dead last year in Texas. Details from U.S. Marshals are being revealed about her husband. Alexis was 26 years old when she was found dead on the side of a West Houston road by a utility worker. Houston police this week put an arrest warrant out for her husband, Thomas Sharkey, for her murder. As U.S. Marshals tried to arrest him in Florida, he took his own life. Authorities found out he was staying at a relative's house in the Fort Myers, Florida area. Police say they believe he was physically abusive towards Alexis, and she reportedly wanted to leave him while he wanted to reconcile.
Mr. Sharkey's behavior and our conversations with him over time and evolving stories and the ability to disprove stories, that took time, and eventually the mountain of evidence essentially just became high enough.
Police also say Thomas Sharkey was evasive and left the state within the first 2 weeks of the investigation last year. And the Chautauqua County Sheriff's Office has identified one of the 2 bodies recovered last week in the town of Portland as a missing woman from western New York. They say they were able to identify her by working with Mercyhurst University. Justin Gould with our news partner WNY News Now has more on who the woman is, how she got to Chautauqua County, and what's next in the case.
Chautauqua County Sheriff Jim Quattrone says the body of 50-year-old Marquita Mole was identified after the Mercyhurst Forensic Anthropology Department was able to match her dental records. Last Sunday, a hiker spotted human remains in a wooded area along the Rails to Trail near Woblin Road in the town of Portland. Following an additional search there, investigators located a second set of remains nearby, which has now been identified as Mole.
We were able to obtain medical records and x-rays of this person.
The sheriff explains there is only one known connection to Chautauqua County and believes someone brought her to the wooded area between the time she went missing in June and when she was found.
She had connections to the Angola area, but I did not read that there was any potential suspect from there. And
the first body is also female, however believed to be decades older. Sheriff Quattrone was hopeful his department could bring closure to at least one of several decades-old cold cases after identifying the remains. Specifically, he believed the first set could be Patricia Limerhart, who went missing from Westfield in 1976, or Lori Bova, who went missing from Lakewood in 1977, or even Corey Anderson, who was last seen in Jamestown in 2008. Since reviewing that, he says dental records were not those of Bova or Anderson.
that body was estimated to be decades that had been in the ground, which could potentially match with the 1976 disappearance of Patricia Limerhart. Dr. Dirk Bent and his team are continuing to analyze and assess that to hopefully give us a little better determination on that.
Just before the discovery was made, the sheriff and district attorney launched a special unsolved case division to take a closer look at the open cases in Chautauqua County. Reporting from Jamestown, Justin Gould, WNY News Now.
The sheriff says it could take the Forensic Anthropology Department weeks or even months to complete a further review. Some of those skeletal remains will also be sent to the State Police Crime Lab in Albany, New York for review. Well, thanks for joining us tonight for this edition of the Erie News Nowcast. Join us for our next news at 10 p.m. on the CW and 11 p.m. on WICU and WSEE. Have a great night.